Well, good evening, laddies, lasses, and lassos. Welcome to From the Closet. You look dandy finalicious, especially you, Stephen. Yes, you, Stephen.
Yes. It smells mighty fine here. Must be because of you, Stephen. Okay,
uh,
are we really just stealing intros now?
okay, yeah. So, if you guys didn't know, that is the intro for The Click, who recently passed like 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So, like, go check him out. Although, okay, yeah. So, welcome to From the Closet. I'm Avery, or Hazel, or Kylie. Pick one.
I'm Lily.
And today we are doing a retrospective on Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So this should be fun. Okay, so for starters, I think we should probably talk about, criticisms that we missed talking about. So one thing I want to complain about is I'm not sure if this is indicative of, the writers not doing the proper research or them just saying that Hawkeye is so
Fuck it.
good. I'm not sure if it's, the writers not doing proper research or if it's like basically saying Hawkeye is so good he doesn't need to do this. But typically in archery, you're supposed to close one eye so that you can aim better.
That
And
makes sense.
yeah, and Hawkeye never, ever closes one eye when he's on screen. He never does. So, that's just one thing I wanted to talk, briefly mentioned. It's just like, it's kind of weird that he never does it. And, like, that's significantly easier than what, like, Nintendo did, for example, and, actually doing the work to animate every single enemy closing one eye when they go to shoot Link. Except for Lizalfos. But that's because they have monocular vision instead of binocular vision. So it makes sense.
Huh. Yeah, Nintendo puts in sometimes they don't, but sometimes they just put above average work.
Yeah, like they put in the extra effort when it isn't necessary, and then sometimes when it is necessary, they don't put it in.
Oh, right, it was Metopia, which, some of the characters have a different animation style based on whether, like, how you made the character.
Okay. So yeah, I probably should have mentioned this, but going forward, there will be spoilers for every movie within Phase 1 of the MCU. If you are listening to this on YouTube, I will provide a link for you to purchase every single movie within Phase 1 of the MCU. You can also watch all of them except for The Incredible Hulk on Disney+, and The Incredible Hulk you can watch on HBO Max.
Do you mind listing out every movie in Phase 1, at least before getting into the MCU?
Yeah.
I would not have known.
So in order, they are Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America the First Avenger, and The Avengers.
Cool. Now let's carry it. I know we're still talking about the Marvel movies. But I really just want to touch on the number 11.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about like our release schedules of these movies, of like our reviews of these movies, because that was quite hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna go open the the memo that I have where I listed off a bunch of stuff. Okay, so we released our review of Iron Man as the 11th episode of this podcast, and like we're now getting close to 50, which is just like wow. So first we had episode 11, Iron Man, and then episode 20, The Incredible Hulk. Episode 22 was Iron Man 2. Episode 33 was Thor. Episode 38 was Captain America the First Avenger. And episode 44 was The Avengers. And by the way, no matter where you're listening to this, you should be able to find all of our reviews for these movies in the playlist. But it's just so absolutely wild that this was completely not planned. And we somehow did MCU movies on episode 11, 22, 33, and 44.
Yeah, I was going down the podcast list. I was like, Iron Man 2, episode 22. And then I just kept going deeper down the rabbit hole.
No, see, like you at first noticed like Iron Man 2 and, Thor. And then I pointed out Avengers being 44. And then I pointed out Iron Man being episode 11.
Well, I wanted to point out Iron Man 2 and Thor.
God,
like, wow, so many episodes apart. Wow, exactly 11. And then that's when it happened.
Yeah, it was kind of nuts.
It was
almost
all
like
downward or upward, depending how you look at it.
Yeah, it was like really. Honestly, it was really shocking to see it play out that way. It was totally unplanned, just like a scenario we had a couple of weeks ago for you guys, where we released 3 different Marvel movies from 3 different franchises consecutively. It was not planned out that way.
Think about how the minor details of our podcast intersect with the MCU.
Yeah.
Our shortest episode of this podcast, and forever the shortest episode, will always be The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, because apparently that episode did not manage to make it to 30 minutes. Which is kind of a surprise, but like ever since then, we've kind of always made it a point to get to at least 30 minutes. Or else, to me, it feels like we didn't really talk enough about the movie if we didn't make it to 30 minutes.
I feel like we did make it to 30 minutes in the recording, and then you edited out some things to make it not 30 minutes.
Yeah, because there were probably some large gaps of silence in there that I edited out.
Mm-hmm. It was just so boring. Hey, segue. Yeah, still boring.
Yeah, I think that movie was very much boring. But yeah, getting into it. So I guess first I want to talk about like how I initially watched these movies. So I'm
Disney Plus.
I'm 99% confident that I saw Iron Man 2008 in the theater.
Oh.
No, absolutely not.
In time.
I don't think Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
I don't think Disney Plus was my first for.
Was a thing.
Disney Plus wasn't a thing. I don't think Disney Plus was my first for any of these movies. Maybe for Captain America: The First Avenger, but I'm not sure about that.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Wait, what movies did you actually see in theaters when it comes to Phase 1?
Okay, so I definitely saw Iron Man in theaters. I might have seen The Incredible Hulk in theaters, but even if I didn't, I for sure saw it. Like not long after it came out, like physically.
Oh, you're just saying a good thing that you didn't see it in theaters.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay.
But at the very least, I know for sure I saw it the year it came out. And then Iron Man 2, I have no idea if I saw that in theaters or not. I might have, I might not have. Thor, I definitely did not. I either ended up watching that on Netflix or Disney Plus, but it was most likely Netflix. And then Captain America: The First Avenger, I definitely didn't see in theaters, and that's the one I feel like I'm more likely to have watched on Disney Plus. And then The Avengers, I saw in theaters multiple times.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Just didn't have anything better to do, or
it was just like I saw it once. Like okay, so there were times where I'd go to the theater with my school because like I went to a school where like you typically stay the weekends if you lived far enough
Mhm.
away. And, like, there used to be a theater in the same town. It's closed down now, but
Really?
yeah.
I don't actually remember you saying that in the story
Yeah. So,
on how it's closed down.
yeah, it closed down before I even graduated. But still, like, when it was there,
Huh.
we would typically go to the movie theater every weekend and see something different. So one of the times we went there, I saw the Avengers, and then I'm pretty sure I went with my dad to see it another time. And God, I really miss going to that theater because the movie tickets were only $3.
Yeah, actually, I forgot how much the movie tickets were at my theater, but like it's a small theater, and they're kind of around that much. Like, I want to say maybe $5.
You're lucky then because movie theater tickets aren't cheap where I'm at anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I can either go to the big cinema, which I don't want to do, but then there's a small one where tickets are regularly cheap.
Yeah. Smaller theaters are typically better for that. But yeah, so why don't okay, in terms of like you seeing these movies, I imagine a lot of these you watched for the first time for this podcast, right?
Of course, yeah, and I won't. There might have been some times where I've seen the movie, like clips of it, because my parents are Marvel fans. I probably would just look away from the TV or something, but I might have like seen a few clips. I've seen quite a few. I've only seen the ending of Iron Man 3. True
That's
story.
that's interesting. I mean, in the with where the MCU is now, because like I don't know, there's even back then, I don't think we could have predicted how big the MCU became, and already the
Hmm.
Avengers was like huge to us. Um, but like where it is now, I don't think you can, go through like be active on the internet at all in the modern age without seeing at least some clips from the MCU.
Hmm.
Like I just
Um,
don't think it's possible.
and when it comes to clips, I mean, most of the modern clips I've seen were memes, you know.
Yeah, and there certainly
But
are a lot of memes in the MCU.
um, when it comes to these movies, they would definitely have to been just on the TV. And, you know, there must have been like hundreds of reruns of this movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like these movies, they took comic books from a nerdy thing, or comic book movies, I should say. Because I mean, comic books are still kind of considered nerdy by themselves, but they took comic book movies from a thing that really only the nerds were watching, and they brought them into the mainstream. And like
Imagine reading. Ha.
nerd for real. But yeah, it led to a resurgence in popularity for a lot of older superhero franchises. I know that when the MCU came out, when the Avengers came out, I should say, there was also a resurgence in popularity for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films and the Nolan Batman trilogy, which we may or may not
Really?
cover at some point.
How good was it?
It's constantly touted as like the best Batman films ever made. So,
Then we might.
yeah. And honestly, some people even argue they're some of the best superhero films ever made.
Like, I know Spider-Man was always meant to be MCU, but like we just got other characters in Marvel, like freaking Batman.
Batman's not in
What would
Marvel,
happen?
but still.
I know, like, just imagine what if Batman talked to Thor?
Oh yeah, what if they adapted Marvel versus DC?
Oh, huh.
Because there are multiple Marvel and DC crossovers because they canonically exist in one shared omniverse.
This is getting confusing. Though, that makes me even more confused.
You're always confused, though.
Okay, so would that also mean the games made by Capcom exist in this universe?
Potentially.
Omniverse, I guess.
Potentially, yes. And I think there's also Marvel versus SNK. So you have that and the SNK crossover fighter, King of Fighters. That works in a lot of other stuff.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on a second. In the newest Ace Attorney game, there is, actually, I guess it's not the newest, but there is sorry, I've been going off the translated name, Sherlock Holmes. So that means in the same universe, Sherlock Holmes and Iron Man has existed as main characters. Or, I say universe, I mean omniverse.
Yeah. Well, and then isn't there also this like multiverses game that has like DC characters in it?
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, they have Batman all the way up to like Looney Tunes.
I also think there's like a canonical connection to like Phineas and Ferb to the MCU.
Oh, right. The Phineas and Ferb crossover.
Yeah, and then Phineas and Ferb also like that ties in like this massive Disney Channel multiverse that also branches over into Nickelodeon and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can canonically connect without, even diving into the realm of speculation.
I like how all of this is possible due to Capcom versus Marvel. Actually, it's Marvel versus Capcom. But like, who thought of that? I want to know who had the bright idea. It's like, what if Captain America fought Phoenix Wright?
What if Captain America exists in the same continuity as Isabella Garcia Shapiro?
Oh God. Actually, yeah, because they didn't interact, but I think Captain America actually was in that crossover.
Yeah, and then, speaking of Phineas and Ferb, we are totally down to cover the 2 movies that they did, but we're probably never going to cover the show itself.
Mm-hmm.
Although, something interesting to note, the Star Wars crossover doesn't count because it's not canon to either Phineas and Ferb or Star Wars. Like, it's explicitly stated not to be so.
That makes sense. And I think it's just a retelling.
Yeah.
of the first movie.
So, I found that a little bit interesting. But yeah, back to the MCU Phase 1 here. So, do you have any particular criticisms that you forgot to mention, or any, things that you noticed that you didn't mention in our previous reviews of the movies?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, then let's talk about the two major recastings that took place. Um, so we had Terrence Howard, who played James Rhodes in the first Iron Man movie, and then he was replaced by Don Cheadle in Iron Man 2. So I do have a complaint. Where the fuck is War Machine during the Avengers? All right, you can't really argue that,
Huh.
it's kind of hard to figure out where he is because he lives in New York, as far as we know, and I don't think they've ever answered where he was. Like, this isn't like a sort of thing where it's like, oh, he couldn't help out with the situation happening in Thor because that was in New Mexico and he didn't know about it. This one just makes no sense. He should be in New York, so where the fuck is he?
Okay, so, like, what time period does this take place around?
The Avengers was in 2012.
Was there a war happening in 2012?
I mean, there were multiple wars happening in 2012, but, like, it's kind of hard to say that he was deployed on one of those because that was never confirmed. And also, why would they need to deploy him? Because, like, that's sending a pretty big gun in against someone who probably doesn't have anything that can even remotely combat it. It'd be like trying to take down a fly with a tank.
Okay, but hear me out. The Fly would probably win.
But yeah, I'm just saying that this makes no sense. But also, I do think Don Cheadle brings more life to the character than Terrence Howard ever did.
I can agree.
Yeah, like, I think Iron Man 1 was still a better movie, but I think Don Cheadle is a better James Rhodes, even though Iron Man 2 is not that good compared to the first one. So the other major recasting was Bruce Banner. Edward Norton played Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk, and in the Avengers, he was replaced with Mark Ruffalo. Do we really need to discuss this one? Mark Ruffalo's like a billion times better.
Well, there's some things worth discussing. Because I'm also wondering why he was recasted.
Basically, he just kind of wasn't a team player. He also, like, on his own, decided to try and rewrite the entire script of The Incredible Hulk without being asked. And he just kind of overall, from everything I've heard, he was just kind of a jerk.
Okay, so I was just gonna say maybe it was because of like when the series switched hands.
Nope.
But yeah, let's go with yours. Your idea.
Yeah, my idea. It's literally what happened. But yeah, and all throughout Phase 1, they're still with Paramount. They're not with Disney yet. And I don't know. Sometime during Phase 2, they got bought by Disney. And that led to Ultron literally quoting Pinocchio.
Wait, really?
Yeah, really.
Why Pinocchio?
because you'll see. You'll see when we get there. But yeah, it was really fucking odd. But yeah, I think MCU Phase 1, pretty banging, pretty good start. I would say a bit rocky because, like, we have Iron Man, which is a great movie, and then The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2 are just not good movies. And then you have Thor and Captain America the First Avenger, which are both just kind of okay at best, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Avengers, which is also at least on par with Iron Man, but I would argue it's better, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. How would, like, and, on the topic of, like, what movies are better and what movies are worse, I'm going to talk about, like, every rating that we have for each of these movies, including critical ratings.
Yeah.
Okay, so for Iron Man, IMDb gave it a 7.9 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 94%. Metacritic is at 79%. 87% of Google users liked the movie. I rated it 9.0, and Lily rated it 7.5. The Incredible Hulk, IMDb gave it a 6.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 67%. Metacritic gave it 61%, and 72% of Google users liked the movie. I rated it 3.8. Lily rated it 3.0. Iron Man 2 was rated 6.9 from IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 72%. Google users gave it 87%. I rated 5.0. Lily rated 7.0. Thor, IMDb gave it a 7 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 77%. Metacritic is at 57%. Google users 84%. Me 7.0. Lily 7.9. Captain America the First Avenger, 6.9 on IMDb, 79 on Rotten Tomatoes, 3 out of 5 from Common Sense Media, 83% Google users, me 7.2, and then 7.4 for Lily. And finally, The Avengers, IMDb 8 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes 91%, Metacritic 69%, Google users 86%. Lily, do you still have our ratings pulled up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my rating for The Avengers got lost somewhere. Oh, actually...
8.5.
Okay, cool. And then yours was 7.8. So, that's a lot. That was a lot of numbers. So I'm just going to break this down into a few worst to best lists. All right. So for starters, IMDb. IMDb says the worst movie is The Incredible Hulk. And then Iron Man 2 and the first Avenger are tied. And then next is Thor, then Iron Man, then the Avengers. I think I want to disagree with them that, the first Avenger and Iron Man 2 are equal. I think the first Avenger is a lot better than Iron Man 2. But now we're going to go to Rotten Tomatoes. Worst movie, The Incredible Hulk. Second worst, Iron Man 2. And then Thor, then the first Avenger, then the Avengers, then Iron Man. Google users. I think I disagree with this list the most, but the way Google reviews work is like you Google a movie and you can only either click like or dislike. So, it's kind of a mess. Plus, there's people who don't like a movie and will go to look it up just to give it a dislike. And like there's massive campaigns where, a bunch of people just go and dislike movies. Similar to how review bombing happens on Metacritic. But yeah, worst movie, The Incredible Hulk. then it's the first Avenger, and then Thor, then the Avengers, and then Iron Man 1 and 2 tie for first. Iron Man 2, get down from there, you're gonna hurt yourself. And then Lily's rankings. The Incredible Hulk is the worst.
Objectively correct. What?
The Incredible Hulk is the worst. And then we have Iron Man 2, the first Avenger, Iron Man, the Avengers, and then Thor at number 1. Okay, I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Stand by it.
Going to have to disagree with you quite a bit on Thor being above either Iron Man or the Avengers.
Okay. But isn't it kind of funny how my top 2 has Loki in it? It's
not
strange,
surprising. It's not surprising at all because you have like this massive crush on Loki.
What do you mean?
But yeah, okay, so my rankings, which I'm actually going to change, but my rankings based on the scores I gave them in our actual review episodes. The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, the first Avenger, the Avengers, Iron Man. And the only thing I'm going to change is I think the Avengers is better than Iron Man. Would you want to change your rankings at all?
Like in positions? Probably not. Oh.
Makes sense.
Though I do have to admit that there is something I want to briefly touch about Incredible Hulk, at least while I was listening to it.
What's that?
I take back what I said about it being, boring it beats bad. No. And while I still give it props for it trying, I can watch a bad movie a lot better than I can watch a boring movie.
I mean, I've said that before multiple times. It's like the worst thing a movie can be is boring.
And I remember saying something like that in at least our original recording of Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to give it a pass because they did try, but I didn't care about the plot. I really wasn't interested about the characters much either.
Yeah, and it's like, Bruce Banner is a much more compelling and interesting character in the Avengers. Because, like, we get to the Avengers and you can actually start empathizing with him. Because, like, he's depressed. Mm-hmm. He talks about, like, how he's tried suicide and it literally just didn't even work. And, he's not sure, why why he's even alive. And there's like this whole talk between him and Tony Stark about like how potentially the Hulk saved Bruce Banner's life for something. What that something is, we will have to just wait and see. But yeah, it's like you can empathize with him a lot more, and that's something the MCU does well, humanizing superhuman characters, and not just the heroes. Like, a lot of the time, the villains are also pretty sympathetic. Like, you can understand their motivations, you can understand where they're coming from, particularly some characters like Killmonger and Thanos and Gore, who are not in Phase 1.
But on the other hand, there's a lot of not good villains either.
Yeah, I mean, but also like Loki, you can definitely understand Loki's, struggles. Like, it must suck to have Thor as an older brother and having to live under the shadow of all of that. It also like imagine being okay, for starters, it already sucks like to find out you're adopted when like to find out by complete accident like your parents didn't even tell you. And like, obviously parents out there, you should absolutely tell your child that they're adopted because trying to keep it a secret, it just never works. Like it always ends badly for everyone. So yeah, like you can even empathize with Loki, but then you have characters like Whiplash, who I can't empathize with at all. Um,
I can hardly understand Whiplash.
and then like
Who's
neither Abomination nor Thaddeus Ross were good villains because like you couldn't empathize with them. Like their motivations were simply I want power. Um, and
wasn't
then
the Iron Man was just I want money?
I mean, Iron Man. The thing with like Tony Stark was like, he. Yeah, obviously most of us can't relate to being that rich, but like, I mean, you can definitely understand, feeling like you're doing good in the world and then finding out
No,
that
I mean the Iron Man villain.
what?
The villain in Iron Man. I
Oh
forgot
yeah,
who it was.
yeah, Obadiah Stane, otherwise known as Ironmonger. Um, Not a great villain, not relatable at all. He wanted money. Yeah, that was pretty much it. But like Iron Man himself,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can relate to, feeling like they're doing something good in the world and then finding out that they're actually causing harm and
Hmm.
wanting to correct that. Like that's kind of the basis of Iron Man's personality. But you also have to throw narcissism in there. Because like Tony's story arc goes like it's narcissist to egotist to uh, true altruism, and we aren't quite there yet. Where he's at true altruism, I think we're currently at the point where he's like an egotist, and then like
Hmm.
then we have the Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk's story arc. It's kind of basically an anger management thing, but then also there's like a depression angle to it as well. And then we have
We get to like Thor, which is he had it all, but he was arrogant. He wanted to start wars
yeah
out of nothing, and then his father is just like, "No, you must learn your sins."
yeah it's like
And I mean, he
it,
had something, and then he was nothing.
yeah it like Thor's story arc is like arrogance to humility and like having to learn that like not every conflict can be resolved by just hitting it really hard. Um, which is why he's a good member to have on the Avengers because like realistically in a fight do they really need anyone other than Thor and the Hulk? Not really, but the strategy there in having multiple of these members is good. We aren't really seeing
Hmm.
Hawkeye's story arc yet because he appears in Thor and then he's kind of a background character for the most part in the Avengers. And it's really hard to pinpoint what Hawkeye's character arc even is. But if I had to describe Hawkeye, it's more of like a character who wants to retire, but is constantly being pulled out because he's needed.
Makes sense. As we
And,
get to
and I would say in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and then in particular the show Hawkeye, really gave him a strong story arc there that he didn't really have before.
Yeah. Hawkeye's appearance in Thor, very limited, but something I do remember him is like, tell me to take the shot, I'm starting to root for him.
Yeah. So there's two other Avengers that we got to talk about here. So we have Black Widow, aka Natasha Romanoff.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So her whole
Almost forgot about them. They didn't have their own movie.
yeah
Not yet.
yeah, because she will eventually get her own movie, much too late. But yeah, her story arc is really about atonement for past sins. That's the
So we first see them in Iron Man 2, right?
yes. It's the first time we see her.
And we don't really get much, at least, like, we get a lot, but doesn't really answer a lot of the questions, about her.
Yeah,
Like,
she's
why is
supposed to
she a
be.
shield?
Yeah,
Like,
she's supposed to be a rather mysterious character in that movie, and it works. It's one of the few things in that movie that actually works.
you can definitely tell she's good at fighting, and basically demonstrates what Shield and the Avengers Initiative was aiming for in a movie where we didn't really know what it was.
Yeah, and then in the Avengers we learned that like she's got a not very great past where like she's done some things she's not proud of, and they start planting some seeds like Budapest and Dracov's daughter, and we will see that stuff pay off later. We won't actually see the things that happened, but like we'll be told the events and we will see the real aftermath of those events. So,
Hmm.
it
Makes sense.
definitely look forward to that. But then the other Avenger we have to talk about is Captain America.
Man with the shield.
Yeah, the Star Spangled Man with a plan. The guy who can do this all day. And his story
I hope
arc
you can still do it all day.
his story arc is a rather interesting one because like he starts off as a truly selfless person, and we get to the end and like he's going to end selfless, but like the thing with Steve Rogers is that he starts off very loyal to America and very loyal to the government, and already in the Avengers we can see some distrust being sewn in there, with him like investigating Shield and finding out that they're using the Tesseract to create weapons of mass destruction. And
Yeah, actually, he wasn't even during the time period of where America created the nukes to bomb Japan.
yeah, well, he at
So
the very least he didn't know that those nukes were. He didn't initially know that those nukes had been fired, if he knew they existed at all,
yeah,
because
it's
he went into the ice before that would have happened.
it's wondering like would he have agreed with that path?
Yeah, I have my doubts about that. There's also probably an angle where America was probably even more desperate, leading to the decision to fire the nukes because Captain America died.
Yeah, I guess in this universe you have this all powerful person, super soldier, and then they are lost. Now what do you do?
Yeah, supposedly the world's first super soldier.
What do you mean supposedly?
Well, for one, we do have Schmidt. He was evil, sure, but he did have the super soldier
Okay, fair
serum.
enough.
But yeah, anyway,
Super evil soldier. Got him.
but yeah, I think the whole thing with him distrusting the government, it's really going to come to a head in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So definitely join us for that one. That one's going to be happening in, let's see, October.
Wow.
But
So while we have, our thoughts on Phase 1 come to a close, why don't we talk about at least a little bit of Phase 2? Like, what are the movie order in that?
okay, so we're going to be starting with Iron Man 3, which you guys can join us in a couple of weeks for that. Um, and then it's going to be Thor the Dark World, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, and then Ant-Man.
Really, Ant-Man's in Phase 2.
Yeah. And then like we can also work in like we're during phase 2 we're also going to start covering the Marvel television shows, not the stuff that's on Disney Plus now, that not any of the phase 4 stuff. I'm talking about stuff like Agents of Shield. But those are going to be left out of our retrospectives because there's just too much to cover.
Because I said so.
Yeah. And like chances are we are not going to get caught up before like we keep going like in the movies, because that's just it's just not feasible, and it would take way too long and we'd never get caught up on movies if we did it that way.
Yeah.
So we will be covering Agents of Shield and like the Defender saga and all those TV shows and stuff, but we're going to be doing them a little slowly.
When I feel like it.
Yeah, we're going to be doing them a little slowly, and you might not like it, but it's how we're going to be doing it.
Unless, I don't know, you're in the future, 10 years future, listening to this podcast, Spotify is yet to be a thing. We released on something else. And like, damn, there's a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot to binging, 10-year-old.
Yeah, because we'll still be doing the podcast in 10 years, right?
I don't know, even if we stop, who knows, maybe it gets archived.
I mean, it's definitely probably going to get archived somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty much, I think, for the most part, there's not too much more to talk about. There's a lot of seeds planted for phase 2 and phase 3, and hell, even phase 4 in phase 1. So, like, definitely look forward to some of the stuff we've got going there. But, like, I do also want to talk about how a lot of these movies have a same versus same theme going on, because you have Iron Man 1, bad guy has the same powers as the hero but uses them for evil. Same story with the Incredible Hulk, and it's the same story with Captain America the First Avenger. So it's like half of these movies.
And Iron Man 2, right?
I wouldn't say that, because with Iron Man 2, the guy at least had like those weird electric whips, and I don't know.
He abandoned them after the final fight?
I mean,
or am I forgetting?
No, he definitely still had the electric whips in the final fight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Thor, obviously Thor's villain is pretty good.
Yeah, Loki, and they're very different.
What?
They're very different.
Mm-hmm. And
like Thor,
seeing Loki's descent into madness.
Yeah, we have.
I feel like I heard that phrase before.
Yeah, and then we have like I guess we didn't talk about this before. We have Loki's character arc, which is like, a very, very intriguing one, because like he's a product of his upbringing. Because Odin's not a great father, Frigga's a pretty great mother, and Thor isn't the best older brother. Like even in the Avengers, we see him, not really hearing Loki. Like we can hear the pain in Thor's voice, but he's not recognizing Loki's feelings when Loki's like talking about how um like he's not recognizing Loki's feelings when he's talking about living in Thor's shadow and
Mhm.
Feeling like he what should have been king. He about how like he was promised being a king and then finding out, that was never really a possibility for him. Like Thor doesn't hear Loki's feelings at all, and it makes the situation worse.
Though it's also a angle for Thor where I don't know, he doesn't really want to, actually throw Loki in a jail cell or something, and that's why he also says like, "This is an Asgard problem. We'll take him, not you."
Yeah, and it's like
And
there's multiple angles to this because like
Thor is just doing his job.
yeah, and like Loki hates Thor, but he also still loves him because like a lot of the time hate comes from a place of love.
Yeah, and this will definitely get mentioned later on because I just know it. Loki's is what he's doing really mischief. He's supposed to be the god of mischief. So, what is the definition of mischief? And is that Loki?
It's
Probably
definitely
not.
It's definitely not, because Loki definitely a lot crosses the line from mischief into malice, and I think the key difference is intent. Um, like Loki is
Well, I mean,
actively seeking out to hurt people.
I'm pretty sure it's also blatantly stated in Loki, at least in the first episode.
Yeah, but we're not here to talk about that yet.
I have to wait until like phase fucking 504.
Just four. But that
Where
may
the
that
500
may
go?
take us until like 2024 to get to.
God damn it. Hey, right when Loki season 2 is coming out.
I hadn't heard that, but hey,
No, I'm making a joke because it takes too long.
well, I mean, I think
Anyway,
the reason for that is because like it's part of the greater MCU story, and they can't really tell Loki season 2 until they're ready to tell Loki season 2.
I know, but
Like
my
in
impatientness is getting to me.
Well, you could also just catch up on all the other Marvel stuff and, you know, stay caught up. Although, to be fair, I still haven't watched the Miss Marvel show, and I keep hearing bad things about it, so.
Proposition, what if I didn't?
Well,
And I think we can close this off just by saying my overall thoughts about Marvel as a whole at this point. Is obviously I never really hated Marvel, but just a blatant lack of just blatant lack of caring, yeah. Just I can't really say I'm sucked into it, but I can't say that these movies were bad.
yeah, I think it may be fair to say that you're at least invested in some of the characters so far.
I can say that, yeah. I mean, Tony is a very in-depth character to look at,
Yeah.
as well as other than characters I've already talked about liking. Yeah, Tony goes up there too.
Yeah, and in the next movie, there's going to be some things to explore regarding his character, even though Iron Man 3 is not that great of a movie, but there are some really great things for Tony's character in that movie. So, we will
I think Iron Man was a good movie to start out with because it definitely shows the level of depth in the characters.
Yeah, and I think it's, it's kind of amazing that the MCU started with Iron Man, and most people, recognize that that is a really great movie. But, like, if you had gone back in time and told someone that they're going to start a massive multi-billion-dollar franchise with Iron Man, they'd have laughed in your face. Because he wasn't a very well-known superhero. But yeah.
Oh, how foolish they were.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely join us in a couple of weeks for Iron Man 3. But until then, I've been Avery, that's been Lily, and if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
Please step
So a
out
little
of the
post-recording
donut.
note here from me, Avery, or Hazel, or Kylie, or whatever you want to call me. I did want to complain about how they never, ever said the tagline of the Avengers franchise from the comics, which is Avengers Assemble. Obviously, they will say it later, and it's an incredible moment. It's just very annoying that it doesn't happen here in Phase 1 at all. But yeah, okay. Seeing you guys later.